Everyone present, first on the agenda, I'll leave Bjerke to old matters.
Project updates. So the bridge 237. For all practical purposes, the structure itself was done, but we can't strip it because of just the slow cure times. Everything just has to stay at a good strength. We met with, or we had the pre-con for Bridge 317, which is at that dead end on Red Valley. Dwayne Baumler was there. We kind of went through with him and the contractor how this was going to go. He had a few more questions, some things he wanted us to do, we were already doing, but he wants us to do a few other things to the bridge, like extend the railing along the abutment, just so that if a kid's riding his bike towards the bridge, he doesn't go off the side of the abutment, which, that's not a big deal, things like that. Jeff's going there today to look at a turnaround. They plan to have an agreement of where to vacate to, which is, if you've ever been out there, you come in off Canoe Ridge, the road will take a hard turn to the right, kind of goes downhill. There's a lane that goes straight there, and that's kind of where we're gonna build a turnaround, that we would vacate everything. Technically heading east, but from that point, and so Jeff was gonna make sure that they think the turnaround can work, because it has to work for both the motor grader and for a truck, because the truck goes in there and but if that all looks like we can make all that work, I think he's more than agreeable, and he just does want to break down, once the new structure's in and put into service, what the ratings are for all the different types of trucks, so that if he has a renter that configurations, this is what you can take across the bridge. So I thought it went pretty well. So the 175th Street, they are pouring the last piece of the main line today. They should be done noonish. They were gonna try to do it Friday, but with the strengths that we were getting and the contractor just opted to say, well, let's do it Monday. Then we can put them on the slab and get people on it that way. There's only a few feet left.
That's P about 52.
Yep, basically. But the rest of it is now gonna be open. This is not curing fast. I've got a few concerns. When they get to shouldering, normally we like to see them in right away to shoulder it. I wouldn't be heartbroken if they waited another week or so. I think they'll just chip the crap out of the edge of it. If you tap it with a hammer at 2 days, you can chip it. And that's not something we're used to. It's just.
You've got a whole week of sunshine and heat
That'll help. I mean, more sun you get on it and the hotter it is, and humidity helps it. But it's not gonna change it drastically. It's just gonna help. So we'll see how that goes. That box on W14, they might pour it Tuesday. I think they're gonna pour it Wednesday, and that'll be the final pour. And then that'll have to sit for a couple weeks before we can strip it, because when we backfill, we're actually pushing against the box, and that's putting it to loads that it needs to have strength to take. It's not just surcharging the soils, you're actually getting a mechanical loading going against it as well. So we'll have to see how that works out. But Kay thought once they finish that box, they want to go to Bridge 317 and get started on it. Basically, they want to get the bridge down, get the caps on, and get those curings. It can take time. That's just the life we're living in right now.
It says here that it was 14 days cure time last year. Now you're at 28.
That's the project, when you plot the graph, that's where it's plotting out. We still have beams that we're going to break,
Mhm.
and they may break better than what we anticipate them to do. And if they do, great. If they don't, that's what our projection is. And so, we just see what happens. So this new concrete is a different animal that we're not used to. They delivered the first of your 4 trucks last week, and Jeff went through it, and it's going back to Don's. I don't know if you guys have ever been in them, but, you know, like the hydraulic controls and all that they gotta cut holes in the cab to do that. They didn't seal those holes like they had historically. You could look through the floor and see the top of the transmission. So as they're going down the road, dust is just gonna roll in through these holes. So.
I've had vehicles like that, but it's.
Yeah. I have too, they typically aren't new.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of a minor silly thing, but, they're going back, or this is going back to get that taken care of. Because if we take it now, they'll never fix it.
Who's expensive, what?
There's,
Guns.
it's between Don's and Truck Country. Our, purchase agreement is with Truck Country. Don's working for them. I don't care between them who pays it. That's between them, so. But just so you're aware of that.
Did you ever come out with the price on?
Yes, they sent us everything they went through, and once they got us the breakdown, it made more sense, because the check we wrote them, what wasn't in that is the labor that we paid for all the things that went on the truck, but we didn't pay to put them on the truck. They haven't done it yet. So I was a lot happier with it, but we're not cutting a check till it sits.
So what's the final cost on this truck?
Yeah, it's over
Way more than,
238,
what did we start out at?
214.
It's not so bad.
Well,
Oh, it is. It's
well, you buy four trucks.
There's 20,000 down.
It's,
That's within reason.
and I don't know if it's gotten any better yet or not, but, hopefully it won't be something that you have to get. Oh, the box in Jackson Junction, that's, it's funded through the state's city bridge fund, but we're doing all the design and inspection on it. It got kicked back from us from the DNR. And what got them nervous is it's in a city, which is technically true. But if you go out there, it's a farm field. It's a rural area. It's not a city as in what you would think. And I think that's what got them excited, because the backwater calculation is not what they wanted it to be, but it's better than the bridge that's sitting there. So we improved the backwater, but not to what they wanted to see it. And because it's city, they got nervous, because when you have backwater, that water has to find some place to go. And
They're where you're filling some people's basements rather than
so,
crop field.
yeah, but it's better than what it was with the existing structure. So
Obviously did not look at the population and the size of the city.
I don't think they did. They just saw that it was a city bridge, and they're doing due diligence, I guess, so I can't fault them for it, but if they push this, right now it's a twin 12 by 10, 12 feet wide, 10 foot tall. If they really push this issue, we're gonna have to change the box, and we'll go to a triple 12 by 6. Issue we have with that is the 12 by 6 will be longer than the 12 by 10. There's a stream bed mitigation issue that came up 2 years ago. They started this. We're with the 12 by 10, we're right at the threshold of we don't have to do anything about it. The 12 by 6, we're worried it may push us over that threshold, and they're gonna want us to do some mitigation. So we're really trying to argue to leave the 12 by 10. Like I said, the backwater is better than the structure that's there now. It is a rural area, but we'll see what the DNR has to say. So they ultimately have, we have to get their permit. That's all there is to it. And but that was kind of a surprise to us. But again, I think it comes back to they see that that is a city and raise the flag.
Could be significant development.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that bridge will have to get replaced again before that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're probably right. Oh, I did, yeah, we talked about that. That could have been. Oh, the bridge crews they've been doing all this backfilling on these box culverts. They're kind of gonna leave that for a little while and get to, we've got some pipe that we just have to get replaced. And so they're gonna be kind of jumping around doing some of that. We did start shouldering on the Bluffton Road, widening those shoulders out. We've just been, conservation has that stream bank project they've got going on. I can't think of the name of that stream. But it's in Casey's Flat, if you know where that is. And that we're gonna try to work just widening some of those shoulders and get them out there a little bit better. Isaac told me Friday when he was out there with Troy looking at a driveway that had an issue. There were two motorcycles that drove by him on the Bluffton Road, and now that pavement's a lot smoother, they kind of felt that, they could push the envelope a little bit better. But if you've ever gone north out of that Casey's Flat, you have that series of curves in there. They didn't make the first one. And if you've ever looked over that side, that's a pretty deep ravine. And the guy walked away. So,
He's lucky.
yeah,
That's number two then in about a week, cause that other one up there, that rollover
yeah.
on, Canoe River Road. Is that right?
No, Canoe Ridge. There's
No.
Canoe Valley, Canoe Ridge.
It's out there on, the one that was written up in the paper. The guy went over the bank and rolled down, walked away from it.
Oh, I didn't read it in the paper.
It was,
And usually for the accident reports to come in from the state control or the SO.
Liability reports.
They're nice enough to give us to them, so we know.
yeah, it's a slope bank. It looks like this on the side of the road.
Yeah, we've
I
got,
don't know how the guy walked away.
fortunately, we have a lot of that.
There's four rollovers in on these wheels and walk home.
Well, vehicles today are built a lot better, thank goodness. They seem to take those things better, but they also seem to give people a little false sense of security about what the vehicle's capable of as well. But,
Yeah. So you're widening shoulders, that's all the way down to the bottom of the ditch, or just?
yeah, I mean, we're gonna be narrowing the ditches by doing that. Some of those spots along the Bluffton Road, we have to really watch the flow line, how that water's gonna still can travel through there. So we may not get even remotely close to what you would wanna see for a widened shoulder. I mean, ideally, when we redid that road, we should have regraded the whole thing, but you could barely afford to put the pavement on it, much less, it needed vertical correction, it needed horizontal correction, and that would have been a lot of right of way and a lot of dirt.
So they'll be reseeding, have to put seed down.
Yep.
What kind of seed do you put on there?
It's typically like a highway mix. It's a lot of grasses.
Number 3 highway mix.
Yeah. There's different ones depending on, like if you're in a more urban area, I would not put that number 3 down because, little Toro. Yeah, lawn boy. But, yeah, there's different mixes we do use depending on what we're doing. Yeah, they'll have to seed it. Anything that we put, we have to seed it.
Basically the same thing as state highway uses.
Yeah, it's a DOT approved mix. And that way, any contractors that we would potentially hire, we say, this is what we want, they know exactly what it is. Everybody's using the same stuff. So, yeah, that's all the big stuff. Hopefully, we're probably gonna see a little bit of a lull with the construction, because Brennan, when they're done, they are leaving to go to another bridge. I think it's in Howard County. Don't quote me on that. And then the radiuses and all those things, the plant down in Kelmer is gonna get taken down when they're done mainlining. And all the radiuses and those things are gonna get done with ready mix. They're not gonna keep that plant here. They're gonna pick that thing up and wherever their next project is, they're gonna head that way. And so that paver will probably be gone today. So then the rest of it, excuse me, will be handwork. For a little bit until Brennan comes back to work on those other boxes.
So they did, they did on the west end right there, they did that. They did the radiuses on those.
Intersection have paved radiuses 52.
52 days.
Yeah, the driveways have a little bit of a radius to them. That street, I don't even know what the name of the street is. Is it Diane?
Austin.
Yeah.
I think it's Diane Street. 265th, Buck Road, and then 253rd and 248th. And those are those two gravels going to the south. So they'll all have radius.
Golf course.
The golf course, I have a little bit in the driveway. They were, when we first talked to them, we were gonna widen that whole thing for them so they could, get in and out better. But they had to move their columns.
Columns, yeah.
And they said they would do that and they just, for a reason, decided not to, which is fine. We'll still make the driveway work.
Didn't take the money to.
Add another driveway to the east part of the course there?
They have one going to the neighbor's property. I don't know who put that in. It kind of goes into that tree dome site in there. Yeah, where the tower's going. I don't know who did that. Yeah, I just saw it one day.
Old city dump.
Would they have had to get a permit to put that in?
It's just gravel. I mean, they just lay rock down to drive on.
But a driveway permit is normal.
It's between properties. I mean, it's back on private property. It has nothing to do with our,
Yeah,
All
and
right.
it adds another driveway, they have to.
yeah, then you have to get it. You can't just add a driveway. There's site distance requirements and, we need to make sure that they're putting material in that's suitable. We had one guy put a driveway in and he tore a barn down and he put all that stuff in there and then covered it with dirt and 2x4s were sticking out. That's how I figured out what was in it. That driveway came out. I mean, people just, you don't explain what they need to do. They're gonna do what they think is a good idea and sometimes that's not right. Weird things do happen. That's just for sure.
Act on these later, but there's.
Yeah.
Is there any hope that maybe the state will change that concrete mix?
It's not really the state's issue, it's the concrete, producers. The green carbon credits that they get is like Holman and Lafarge, they make the cement and, so they get the carbon credit, so they changed what's their cement and they put this lime in. They don't like it either. This is, DOT's not excited about it, but this is what is coming and, it develops the strengths that the DOT requires. It just takes longer to get there. And that's the whole beef is that, if you don't mind the gain or the length to gain strength, but really not out anything, it's just what that we have to wait this. We're not.
And it's one of the largest carbon dioxide producers.
Yeah, and that's, the industry is getting these
So
credits.
if you're looking at long-term,
Yeah,
And there's also,
gain from just waiting a little bit longer on cure times for that.
right.
there's
I mean,
cost issues too with the quick appearance there. It's
Well,
a lot more expensive. I mean, Riley's works down in Des Moines Airport, they'll pour it 12 inches thick and they're driving on it the next day. It's good to go. But they can't wait down there either.
It's probably an M4 mix, which is more expensive.
Yeah, I don't know what they're using. And airports, it's very different.
Yep.
I mean, that's a whole new animal and mean, their thicknesses are incredible and the material. Aircraft are coming in, and you pay for it. You pay for it.
You got that kind of load impacting the runway.
Oh, yeah. It's a,
Concepts,
they're,
tires.
yeah, they're heavy. It's, I mean, you know, it's the same physics in it that, and people don't think about this, when we build a bridge, when the approaches settle, and you've all gone across these, where you come up to the bridge and you kind of get that lift, then you come on that bridge. And we really don't want that, and we've worked hard to come up with different ways to prevent that settlement from happening. But when you come up and you come back down on that bridge, that's an impact load, just like when an aircraft lands. That's what really stresses the bridges out. And, you know, brand new bridge, you don't think anything of it because you're gonna take a lot of that cycling and it's not gonna bother them. But the old ones, you ever, you know, when it's flooding and everybody gets nervous about being on a bridge, don't go fast or slow. That's your best chance. Because you want to get across it because you're afraid of what's gonna happen to it. But when you give it that impact load, that's when you're gonna stress it to the point.
And that's probably what took out that one on the Centennial Road there too, that we're gonna put in.
Well,
That
that,
always had such a bounce on that one.
that one, and it was worse before. I wasn't here when they widened it. They told me that thing was terrible when it was ill. Then George widened it and it's timber abutments or piling and they're just rotten. I mean, that's the problem. They're just rotting. The superstructure itself is really in great shape, but you can't lift that superstructure, put new piling underneath and put it down. There's just, that's not gonna work. So the thing is.
I've had numerous people ask about the IRBM, the contract, or signed agreements for
Mhm.
maintenance. What does that mean? What's happening with that? Are we abiding by that, or who's overseeing that?
We are planning to abide by it. I'm not sure who's gonna be the overseer of all of that. I mean, the agreements that are written, they're pretty well spelled out what's gonna happen, so as long as somebody has those, we kind of know. We've had asks for more of them, but I'm not sure what we're gonna do with those.
I think people are just worried that, since everything's kind of on pause, so probably I'm an engineer, but I mean, or we decide something different with this study, whatever.
Yeah,
Somebody will go in and just,
we do run that risk. I mean, the reason Corey was there is he knew what was out there and what we needed to do with it. And, right now there isn't anybody who knows that. Todd knows quite a bit, but, he doesn't know them all. And so far, I mean, we haven't got to the point where we're spraying and doing a lot of different things yet, but, we will be at some point having to get going.
should they be somehow permanently identified with markers or?
Most of them, they should all have a sign that says no spray. But like every sign we've ever had, those can disappear for the darndest reasons. You know, somebody steals them or somebody ran it over or it blew down in a storm or, you know, it may not be there. And that would be, to me, where we're probably gonna run into a little bit of trouble, where the guys just didn't know until it's too late.
That's kind of like the lane changing yellow posts that are supposed to be alongside the road.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't there either.
Yeah, and every few years, we gotta go back through and make sure they're there. Otherwise, we have to go and mark the road again for paint. And I don't know why they would disappear, but they do. I don't know if people like that yellow sleeve or what it is, but it,
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever noticed that, or if there's right along the property line. Where the paint changes in the road, there's a yellow post out there, significant. Okay, when they're going with the painter to shut this off, turn this on, so they know.
yeah, the no passing sign tells you where it starts. It doesn't tell you where it ends. And that's why that marker's out there. So when the painter goes, he's just, as he's watching his line, he can just look up and he can see that marker, and then he knows to shut the gun off. And, some of those just disappear. I don't know why. They've had the darndest things.
The garden sticks.
It's just a regular steel post with a yellow sleeve.
Nothing fancy about it.
So I guess I can tell people, we'll make sure that their signs are up and in place.
That's a very good start. If they need signs, I think we have some. I'll have to look. I don't.
There's some out in the sea shed.
Whether, okay. Yeah, if those are down, there will be a problem. That will definitely be a problem. And I just assume if they want to maintain the ditch, let them. Doesn't cost us anything to do it, so the more people who want to do it, that works out for us.
Good, thank you.
All right, anything else? Okay.
Next week.
We got a couple minutes here. I don't know, did all of you get to take a look at that roof?
Picture that, that's ridiculous.
I think that's something
We probably better
that we
address.
better put on the agenda.
I think that's a good idea.
What are we working on? What,
The roof
So-
up here is bad.
oh,
It's not in good shape at all.
Really bad.
When does Andy get back?
John has a quote
Next
coming.
week.
I'd like Andy to take a look at that too, because I'm wondering if the original applicator should be held accountable for possibly
How
not
long is it, you know?
putting the roof on the right way.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's since I've been here, but I don't remember and John Alverson might know,
That membrane doesn't even go up to the
up to
flat,
the edge.
It's shrunk, because that's what happens.
but the nails are not even on the flashing.
Well, those are nail holes where it's pulled through. You can see the nail holes on the metal flashing.
You can?
Yeah.
I didn't see them.
Yeah. So it's, but we.
The last time we talked about this, the idea was brain or something, I don't remember what happened last time, but we talked about if we ever completely redo this roof, we should just put trusses up there and have a regular roof rather than a flat one. Because there's
Yeah.
no need to have a flat roof. When they built the building, they were maintaining the possibility that they could add another story. So that's why they built it with a flat roof. But we probably never intend to do that, so.
The benefit to going with trusses is better water shed.
Yes.
Chance, but also more insulation potential.
Yeah.
For heating.
Yeah,
So I think we would, if we're gonna do something, we should get a bid both ways
we'll have, and John's working on that.
to say what would it cost to do that. I know they talked about the slope going that way, all the water, but ice would go down onto the sidewalk and that would probably not be the best.
We got, no matter which way we got that, we got the boiler stack coming up through there. That's gonna be, any penetration is always an issue. But it's gonna be more significant with a slope roof over a new membrane roof.
But over time, it might be cost effective, heating, cooling.
I think you can evaluate the numbers when we get it, but I can tell you, it's gonna be significant
So John,
both ways.
Okay.
now whether you wanna have Andy or maybe ask John first and then Andy involved in a warranty or completely different, separate part of the deal, but man.
That we got any warranty on that would be left.
Yeah, I don't think traditionally those don't, the flat roof type warranties are not the same as you get on a regular machine roof. Yes.
So we should probably just hold off till John gets his estimates of that. Okay.
He's only got one coming out. I'll talk with him. We get multiple estimates coming back.
Well, it is,
When he gets those estimates, have him also ask for a third one to make sure that if we do a truss, that it's strong enough to support solar panels in the future, if that's something that's done in the future.
Well, yeah, it can be mentioned that I doubt if anything other than standard trust design was probably pretty much take care of what they were put up there for the size of span we've got.
Yeah.
So just make
Pretty
sure
small.
that whoever doing the quote,
Pretty small
that's
building.
part of it.
Alright, next on the agenda is, some miscellaneous items. First of all, we need to take action on Fatima's salary increase. That brings her up to the minimum she needs.
Yep, the minimum required, so right now she's at 51,240 per year. The minimum required starting tomorrow for her to renew her paperwork to continue to stay in the country is 54,309. So that's actually just from now though till the end of the fiscal year, because then July 1, she goes to 59,267 with the new study anyway. So we're giving her part of her salary to meet the government's minimum requirements. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just, it is an exception to normal policy, so I need you to make an action on it.
I would move to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to raise, salary. Any further? All same sign. On the CBA amendments.
Yep, so as you know, you offered each of the collective bargaining units, additional increase in their salary. That goes to what you're giving everyone else. So we had collective bargaining agreements that are prepared by our attorney and signed by the unions. So you'll have to approve them and Dan will sign them and then we'll send them back to John Anderson to have them recorded. All collective bargaining units get recorded at the state.
Can we do that in one motion?
I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement amendments.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That's page.
Next up, discuss possible lease of office space at Spectrum.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for your visit last week. I hope that you were excited about what you saw, especially all the things we're doing. One of the things that came up. What's that?
I like the data about gas.
That was very good.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Mike Merrick. I'm the executive director at Spectrum here in Decorah. We work with adults with special needs and provide services throughout the community on a daily and weekly basis. We were fortunate enough to have these people walk through last Monday. And during the walkthrough, we found some areas that office space that are available that may work really well for some needs that you have. What I did is conferred with local realtors just on rental space to make sure that we're in the right pricing area and included the things that are part of a package that we would propose. So things like lawn services, electrical, gas, janitorial, 8:30 to 2:30 daily receptionist. All of those things are part of the package. So if you do a lease with Spectrum, it really is an all-in. When you budget it at the beginning of the year, it's X per month. That's exactly what it would be. The only changes that you would have for additions would be your phone or any internet hooking that you have in our building. We have all the services there. It's just whatever you have to bring for those things. All of the equipment, all the modulars, they're all part of it. And we can adjust them or arrange them any way that you need. And it's move in ready. I mean, literally within a day, we could have it set up so you're good to go.
Do we have the Metronet connection there from when we had mental health? Is that in that building?
It was,
So
yeah.
we actually already have the wiring in place to hook up to our current system.
All right there. Yeah. So the infrastructure costs have already been absorbed. We didn't disconnect anything at all. So, and we do have, Wi-Fi in the buildings. I mean, it's a wonderful setup. There are two distinct areas. One area, will house 6 people onto a setup. The other has, a private, bathroom facility. It has its own, conference room, and it has its own director's office or an office. And the bullpen area would have anywhere from, well, as many as you needed, but up to 7 different sitting areas. I don't know what your need is yet. As far as security, lock in, lock out, one of the areas has its own private entrance. We can walk directly into the building, take immediate right. You go into an area that's where all of the office space, the bathroom is. And the other one is just the next door over, which is more of a common area, but it's blocked off with modules. So it has good security or it has good privacy.
What's the square footage on?
Both of them are just under 700 square feet. Okay. One, if you remember, is more of a bigger open area, and the other one is a short hallway, bathroom, conference room, director's office, and then open area. Both have all low floor, all handicap accessible, all windows on each of the sides of it. So some really nice setup.
We don't know how much we need yet, because we haven't talked
Yeah.
to the other end of this, other parties involved, so.
But I think this is the starting point, right?
Yep.
You put your eyes on it. This looks like it's a viable option. Once the people that are going to utilize it walk through and say, this looks like it can work, or we can adjust and move things around to an open space area, to a modular, to whatever they like. We don't have a lot of investment to make because we already have all those components. We have all the desks and the chairs and all of those things ready. So we could set it up about any way you want.
The next step would be a walk.
And set that up just about any time you want. Mike Donahoe and Northeast Iowa area on the team are in one of those areas right now. The other area is all ready to go. It just depends on what you felt was best for you, budget wise, the need space, security, all of those.
Did you have a dollar figure on square foot?
All I did is went to John Current and I gave you an estimate cost of those things. I'm sure we would negotiate whatever your current budget is and what you're currently paying for the building you have. The only difference between those two is one that has a private bathroom and has its own private conference room. That one was $250,000 more on, so it was $250. It was $2,500 and $2,750. The two prices that I got from a realtor, if that was available. Part of that is because there's no other cost. There's no parking costs. There's no snow removal, lawn. All of that's included. So that's a big part of it.
2,500 a month.
So I put a proposal together that has both of them. Again, that's a starting point for us to look at. But really, you shouldn't have any other dollars invested outside of that, once you walk in the door.
So, Mike, the size of the space again is?
Just under 700 square feet.
Each one of those.
Yeah, each one.
Two sides.
Yeah.
They got 26,000 a year without telephone, and telephone is 13,000. Which you could definitely cut that down, I think.
Yeah.
What is that quote based on? What building?
The, up on top of the hill, the state garage,
No, I know, just for the public's information, what we're talking about.
the DHS building up at state garage.
Thank you.
And here are the custodial, electrical, water and building maintenance. So them are all included there. So it's.
And honestly,
And the telephone,
Would
I'm
be
sure you
way,
get way cheaper.
way, if our Metronet hookup is still there and they can get hooked up to that, we'll save.
Probably $10,000 there.
Yes.
So what we're looking at is, are you aware of the old DOT office building on Highway 52? That's the building that we're referencing here.
You're probably not aware of it because it just hits from the side.
There's roughly 26,000 here just in the items that would be included on the. So that's
I think
just about what,
So the rent is free then.
well,
there's some good convenience things as well, right? You're
Oh,
in town, access all those things, but
but I mean,
It's gotta work. It's gotta work for them.
right,
Right.
yeah, right, absolutely.
And the last time we showed them a space, it was at the, I don't know how that compares to there was some talk about transit moving out of the Smith Building at one point, and so we brought them in here into town to look at that spot where transit is, that addition on the north end. of
Yeah.
Yeah, and they said it wasn't big enough, so I don't know how that compares to this.
And that's what my concern here is, who's gonna be meeting with DHS? We need to decide that as a group today.
There's a representative, I don't remember who's, okay, there you go,
The building part.
yeah.
The building committee, the building
Building
representative. So 700 square feet is significantly less than what they've got right now.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to look
Is that for both of them, or is that separate? There's
1,400 square feet.
1,500 square feet.
If you needed that much. You know, I've been to the one on the highway, there's a lot of that building isn't being used. And when you walk in immediately to the left, there's gotta be a couple hundred square feet. That's a sitting area that I don't think anybody sat in for a long time. I don't know how often you see.
That's the entrance and the
Yeah.
reception area.
Right, that's all. It's a separate area that,
I just want to make sure we're not making any assumptions here, that we're doing, doing homework with DHS to make sure it's what
Right.
they need
Yeah.
and it accommodates their confidentiality and things like that. We-
And I think we
There's a
got-
lot of unknowns
Yeah.
right now until we have that
and
conversation.
we deal in that environment every day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
So, and as I said before, it's a footprint that has 4 nonprofits already in one area with Choice Around and
Yeah.
Food Pantry and NEI3A and Spectrum, as well as the Food Hub, which is in our kitchen area. So it seems to have a lot of, there's a lot of common interest between the things that we do. And it's, frankly, for us, it would be, it helps our cash flow. Because those are areas that aren't being utilized, but they're viable. You all saw it. And it's a viable office area and that works well. There's certain businesses you wouldn't want in there. This one seems to be, to have a good fit for us.
Yeah, I'll volunteer to work on that, because I've done a lot of that in my 25 years as a building contractor, dealing with space, so I'll be happy to meet with them, if you want to meet with them, we just arrange a time, I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, and I'll help you coordinate it. When you want to walk through, we can do that. I'll leave this proposal just as a starting point that we can work from. But it's plenty viable. We can adjust it with what works best for you and your people. Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you all.
Sounds good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Next up, discussion/action on pending vacancy in the engineering department. I requested Ben put this on here. My idea is just to get a discussion started, and I think we should ask Andy to draw up a formal request for Isaac to become the temporary after his departure. So
Because we're already getting full.
time's a ticket.
So, Dan, this is Andy. If you have a minute. So I did reach out to Isaac this past week just to verify that he is interested in serving as interim. And his response was that he was willing to do that. I don't think he had heard from anybody else on the board at this point, so I just wanted to verify that that was an option. I did, or I will put together a resolution for you for next week or the following week to appoint him, effective, I guess it would be June 24. Beyond that, I'm not sure that there's anything else that needs to be done on that particular step.
Do you want to, will we increase his salary to what the engineer's salary would be while he's serving as interim, or is he doing it at his current salary, or what's the plan there? And then
Do you want to?
yeah, I'm also worried because I think his current contract for the county comes up at the end of June. So it would be the time that we need to sign a new contract with him anyway. So it might be all rolled into one, maybe is a good idea.
Do you? Yeah, I'm thinking about whether or not that, how we want to structure that contract. Yeah, because now I think the contracts are for, what are they been, multiple years, aren't they?
3 years We have typically had the engineer's contract for 3 years, and when we added Isaac, the assistant engineer contract, I think we set it up to end at the same time as the engineers, so that we would be doing them at the same time. That's why I think it's this year, even though it hasn't been in place for 3 years yet. I think that was the intent. And so we would need, and another question I was wondering is, you know, his current contract says that he gets paid 85% of the engineer. If we hire a new engineer that's not him, but the new engineer then is starting at the beginning of the pay grade, then all of a sudden Isaac takes a pay cut because the engineer is new. I think we need to address all of those questions.
I don't think that, I think we tied him to the engineer's salary at 85%. I don't think that was a statutory provision because the engineer is not an elected official. So he's not, you know, a deputy or an assistant under those standards. I don't think that that would be necessarily an ongoing.
I think we should make sure we address that when we write the new contract, because it wouldn't be fair to him that at 85% of the engineer, if they get a new engineer who has a lower salary, that his salary has to go down too. I mean, that isn't fair to him. So I think we need to make sure we have all of these things addressed.
And that, I think, is an issue that we address upon hiring a new engineer. Could you send me a copy of his contract, Ben? It's, you know, I guess the questions that have come up, the one that I'd be interested in hearing from the board on before I draft the resolution is, are you bringing him up to Lee's salary while he's serving as interim? Or are you expecting him to do it at the 85%? Because let's face it, I guess my thought had been that he probably would come up to Lee's because he's not only doing Lee's work, but he'll be doing his as well while you're searching for a new engineer.
The point would be, though, that not that he would go to Lee's salary, but that he would go to the beginning salary on the pay scale that the engineer is on. So if we have a Lee's on a pay scale, so he's several steps into it due to his years of service. So if we hire a new engineer, they will presumably start at the beginning of that pay scale and move along.
I understand that, but I'm talking about the interim. How do you handle it between now and the time that you hire the new engineer? I mean, when you hire the new engineer, yeah, they're going to start at potentially starting lower than where Lee was at, which could impact Isaac, but I think you make that decision at that time because you aren't tied to 85% for Isaac. You can make that change depending on where the new engineer lands on the pay scale and how that impacts Isaac. But I'm looking at what are you doing between now and the hiring of the new engineer for purposes of compensation.
Otherwise, potentially.
I'm sorry, Mark, I couldn't hear you. The sound system and the video today is just really poor on your end.
Okay, so whatever a new engineer would start at, whatever that base pay is, that would be, Ben was saying that would be where Isaac should be brought up to rather than up to what Lee is actually making.
And the reason I say that is if you take him up to what Lee is currently making, and then you hire him as the permanent engineer, then you have to lower him back down to where he was gonna be if he got hired. So he would have there would be no reason for him to want to be hired to serve as an interim indefinitely, because that would be paid more. I mean, that doesn't seem right either, so.
But when you hire a new engineer, you're going to need to replace Isaac. I mean, I'm assuming that between now and the hiring of the new engineer, Isaac is covering two positions, not one.
Right.
And if you bring him to the starting point of an engineer, is he going to be at less than 85% of Lee's current salary? Where would he be?
he will make more than what he currently makes. And I don't think it's decided, actually, very likely, we aren't going to hire someone in his exact same position. If we do hire someone else, we have always hired an assistant to the engineer, which is a much lower pay grade than an assistant engineer. That was something he was promoted to.
Agreed, and that's, okay. My thought was that you were gonna end up dropping him if you put him at the starting pay scale for the engineer because of the 15% difference. Doesn't seem like enough, but if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Just give me the number for the pay scale.
Yep, I'll put that, I'll get that and the current contract to you.
And did Conry write us a current job description for that position? So when we go up, when we advertise it, we have that JD.
I don't remember, especially since most times in the past, you've hired the assistant to the engineer, so not a graduate engineer, someone who helps the engineer. And that's what Isaac started as. But then he, after that point, became a licensed engineer, and then you promoted him to the 85%. So since that other job description, which is likely the one, if you do hire another person, is the one you're going to utilize, and since it's not currently being utilized, I don't know that we have that scored or not. So we would have to have Condrey look at that.
Right,
if we don't have it.
But that's for the assistant position. I mean, for the engineer position.
Yes, that
we
is
have the
scored.
current.
Yes.
So we need to contact Conry to give us an assistant to the engineer.
Right,
Job description.
right.
Okay. Can you do that?
I will double check. I don't think we had that one done, so I will double check with them.
Andy, are you still there?
Yes. Surely, you're not coming through on the microphone at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Who will be putting together the committee for hiring a new engineer where we need an Iowa DOT engineer, several county engineers, the Iowa County Engineers Association representative, Service Bureau, and several county supervisors, as well as a human resources professional? Will you and Ben be working on that first committee and then add from our supervisors group, or how is that gonna go down?
I haven't looked at that, Shirley. Frankly, I think that Lee has contacted Iowa DOT and we should be getting a package from them in terms of how to proceed with this. I have not seen that, but that would be, I think the process will need to be followed using or utilizing the DOT.
Okay, great.
I will try to get something out to you to review. If you've got changes you want to see made in the resolution based on conversation today, let me know, but I'll try and put something together and get it out to you in the next week or so. So I don't want to interrupt, guys, but your sound system today is awful. I don't know if it's this way every week, but Mark just talked and nothing came through on the microphone, and then Mark Vick said something, nothing came through. I'm just pointing it out to you because I know we've had some issues and some complaints, and from what I'm seeing today, I think there's some merit to the problem here today.
I talked to Fatima and
It's a different help we got today too.
yeah, John and Fatima are on it. And they're looking at getting a second owl for this table, and they are aware. Can you hear me right now?
Yes.
They are aware of the problem with the sound system in here and they're working on it right now and they're waiting for a proposal from a company. But I know this has been bad, even on the old owl, in addition to this new owl, the audio has been bad on the online recording or on the online live streaming.
All right, thanks. I'll let you go and won't bother you with that again.
No, thank you for pointing it out again. It is a problem.
Anyway, I think it would be good to let the public express their concerns and
Well, they ain't the one that's gonna run the county. I mean, the engineer is gonna be the engineer. I mean, that's, yeah. I listen to them all the time. I mean, I know.
well, I know.
There's a lot of problems that need to be taken care of, so.
We're here every week.
Every,
I do,
Just
but
gotta
I'm
keep
just
working on
saying,
it.
it's now would be a time to let everyone say what their priorities are.
you know,
Give them a
we
chance.
live in rural Iowa and rural Iowa is made up of gravel roads and every single county engineer and every single foreman, and every single crew in every county in the state hears about how bad their roads are. And we're gonna hear about it forever and ever from people who are armchair engineers who don't know the bigger picture.
Yeah, I don't
It
think,
won't stop it.
I don't
No.
think it would be fair to Isaac or whoever takes over
No.
that position for us to say, these are all the changes you gotta make
Well, I
without
don't-
listening to what they may wanna do as the new
A
engineer.
new person with their feet on the ground might be a better option.
They might have a whole different take on how they wanna approach the job and go forward with it, so. I think we have to listen,
Yeah,
but I take phone calls all the time.
I do too, but I just think this would be a great opportunity for people. If you got something to say, come say it so we can get it on the table.
And there's nothing precluding you from doing that individually or even two of you, because Shirley has time in here where she talks to people.
I was just thinking, have a scheduled forum at night when the public can come and they aren't working.
That one could last all night.
Yeah, well, it's a one night deal. I'd be willing to do it.
I found it more valuable to go out and when I hear, go take a look at them, see what it is.
We do that.
Well, this is like, okay, they're not putting the blade down, the potholes are coming back, they're not working it down in, they're not, you tell me why, maybe it would be nice for somebody to hear that, so as they start their plan moving forward, maybe we do need to address, why is that pothole continue to be in the same place at the same time?
County engineer, that's their job. I
Well,
mean, if they're gonna be
well,
experienced.
it is, but it's not,
step into
but
that.
it is, but according to people, it's not happening, so I just wonder if we need to relook at how we're maintaining the roads then, and this might be a time to hear what the public has to say.
Public comments would be fine. I agree with you in that, Mark, but I think we're premature is what I'm suggesting. Until we get better in place, what we're gonna move.
Well, then it
forward
would
with.
feel like somebody's attacking, trying to tell somebody what to do once they're in place. If they knew coming in what people are talking about, maybe they could address it.
I don't see it that way. I would see it more as if we hear it, get to know your county if you don't know it. I mean, if, for example, Isaac didn't turn out to be the candidate that we hire, he's got a pretty good grounding of what we have, and certainly it may have more benefit to him than it would a new person coming in.
And I just want to state again, and I hope those online can hear me. If you live on gravel roads, secondary road system in the state of Iowa, rural Iowa, there will be potholes and there will be washboarding occasionally throughout the year on every road. That's part of living in rural Iowa on gravel. We're gonna have the same complaints no matter what. Every county gets them.
One knows.
I drove school bus 40 years ago, 3 routes a day, gravel, so I know it was the same situation back then. But sometimes public just likes to think that somebody listened to what they have to say public.
And it might even be worse than it was back then because
Yeah.
the money we spend on gravel, although from 20 years ago might be 3 times as much and only buying half as much gravel, so.
Yeah.
250% more. Let's not forget that. in cost.
It doesn't cure.
Yeah, okay.
It cures, it just takes longer.
Yeah.
It still has the strength.
We'll see what happens down the road. That's the challenge that we may face with that.
They got,
And that's totally out of our control.
It is.
dedication to the new memorial down there at the park. Memorial Day, Monday after the parade, yeah. Building is gonna be till into next year quite a ways, so it sounds, pushed back.
So they talked about having it done yet this year.
It's never now.
I don't think we would start.
Maybe, they said.
Starting next year, man.
Next year, maybe.
Where's the pushback coming from?
I think they got other ones in place they're working on, they're just, I think there's one company that does it, they're just
Slower.
we're the end of the.
Yeah.
Last one to.
Yeah. What do we have for consent agenda?
Got the minutes, the claims, and the veterans monthly report.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Did you have one of these that you passed out signed?
Yes.
Okay, give me grab one there.
Is there any, committee reports?
I'm going down to Des Moines, Wednesday, Thursday for the opioid settlement spending workshop to brainstorm on different ways that money can be spent in our communities. And then tonight is Northeast Iowa Community Action.
Just one, pick one.
And I know that some of us are doing some CPR and stop bleeding training again, tomorrow. That's all.
Yeah, and I think there's, especially at least for the stop the bleed, there's still some slots. So if anyone wants to get in on that, they can still sign up for that.
We have department heads at 1:30 today.
Yep.
I had a Winneshiek County Development Tourism meeting. Stephanie had, a temp from Loser College in there. And, she is gonna be offered a full-time position with them now, since Laura Priest is not there anymore. And this frees up a lot more time for Stephanie to do grant writing that Laura always did. So,
Excellent.
We got Upper Explorer Land Thursday, I think.
I'm meeting with Michelle earlier this week. She'll give me a rundown, Mark. I won't be at that meeting.
and as we're talking about not being at the meetings, I will not be here next Tuesday. I will be in Nashville. And looking at my wife's agenda, I don't believe I can online either. I think she has that time slot already spoken for at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh,
So,
that's worth the trip. Grand Ole
Something that was brought up last week is there any interest at this point? I don't think there's anything on the agenda for July 3rd. That would be your normal meeting day. But maybe the people are gonna be gone for 4th of July, that they would rather have a long weekend. So either not meeting that week or putting it off to a Wednesday or something might be some options. I will be gone that whole week anyway, so you'll be meeting without me.
well, I guess if nothing real pressing.
I see no reason, take it on holiday for the year, I guess.
Unless something really pressing comes up,
That we could do it on Wednesday, I guess. If it was something serious, we had to take action on.
okay,
The public hearing is next Tuesday then on the budget amendments.
right.
Does anyone have anything else? Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Wait,
Second.
Have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Thanks.
Opposed, same. Meeting is now adjourned.
Is one of them signed, but.
It's right there.
I'll be staying for an hour for office hours. If anybody would like to meet with me, I'll be here. Thanks to those online for attending. And I'm sorry about the sound quality. We're working on it.